Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to a great guitar giveaway, and welcome to a PRS S2 Standard 24. Now, this guitar it's a budget instrument made in America, retail 1,600 or so pounds, and as such, it's not really a budget guitar, but there are a few issues. And that's what we're going to look at here, predominantly in the finishing and the final setup, i.e. the bit where it takes a human time, well, more time than not, to do. I am genuinely disappointed with how this came out of the factory, but as a guitar, it's cool. Solid mahogany body, solid mahogany set neck, with a scarf joint, which actually I think is going to give you more strength, although it is frowned upon by builders for some reason, I don't really know. We've got the low mass locking tuners, the high quality hardware that one expects from PRS. You've got a pair of their very, very cool humbuckers. It's the 5815S humbuckers. Sounds great. Rosewood fretboard with a 10-inch radius, which is something I particularly love. I'm personally going from flatter radiuses to tighter in my own instruments that I'm enjoying playing at the moment. But it is the last 5% of what they do as a company that you see first and experience first. This guitar is up on the Great Guitar Giveaway, helping us create and raise money to create an awesome guitar museum in Dorset. And as such, I can't let this instrument go without doing some work on the nut, at the very least. The setup is abysmal. And if you think that I'm feeling a little bit personally attacked here, I am. This guitar arrived and I took it home straight away because I was so excited and I wanted to get to know it intimately. And yeah, I played it for 3 seconds. Said, well, no, I can't do that. You expect a guitar under £1,000 to need a setup and fretwork straight away out the factory. You don't expect a guitar from this factory at this quality level to need the same. So yeah, let's have a closer look, shall we? I am not a fan of these, of this style of locking tuner. It just looks a bit weird to me, but I do understand that PRS need to have their own things. I can't believe they've patented this nut material. I think it's just a version of carbon fiber or something. But if we look at this, that is huge. Let's actually measure that properly in a minute. 10-inch radius, dots. I mean, it's nice. It's all good. The finish is okay. There are some issues in the corners here where the pigment hasn't quite been laid on thick enough. So that actually looks like a bit of a, well, it looks like a crack, and it's purely just pigment with the mahogany underneath showing through, basically. I would expect the quality control people to be more on that. Lots of comfort carves. I am a fan of this shape. I'm a fanboy of Paul Reed Smith. I really, really am. There's no soft pad behind that strap button, and the lacquer's chipped. It's not ideal. I don't see any joint underneath the finish though. Normally in the light you can sort of see where a joint is, so, well, I don't think that this is a one-piece mahogany body. It would be cool if it was though. So we've got the pattern thin neck, which we'll measure in a second. No padding. We all need a little bit of extra padding. The pots are very loose. I wonder what they are. Switch feels good, and we've got a push-pull coil split here. I do love the quality and the look of these control knobs though. Absolutely, they blow me away. The fit and finish of the hardware, etc., is sublime. At the first fret, I've got a 1.25 millimeter height. That is just crazy. And it's 0.75 on the high E. Our action is massive, 2.75 millimeters at the 12th. There's a load of relief, 2.25 at the high. E. So I mean the relief is about right, but the action is massively high. This came new from the shop. I mean it was made on the 17th of the 8th in 21, so mid-COVID, but I don't expect somebody at the shop to have been messing around with truss rods, etc. This is, and certainly nobody's cut this nut down. I don't know. In the comments, if you know, what are the standard recommended specs for nut height and action height, etc. from the PRS factory? I would love to know that. I'm going to save these strings, but I do want to see what these frets are doing. I love the PRS headstock. Before you use the fret rocker, straighten the truss rod out. I like that. Metal! Come look at this. Methinks somebody forgot a washer. You don't really want your truss rod adjustment to be straight up against the wood if you can help it. I don't know. Is this standard? Doesn't feel right to me. Let me know in the comments. You can see where the truss rod cover went on when the lacquer still hadn't fully cured. It's not a major issue, it's just, hey, mass production for you. My issue here is that recently we had a PRS SE from, I think, the Indonesian factories, and I was blown away by the quality of the nut work and the basic setup of the instrument straight from the factory. This is not that. Well, I'm blown away, but in a much more visceral and bloody kind of a way, I suppose. Okay, hold on. This is not the 60s Gibson that Josh is currently working on over on the other bench with a traditional truss rod. This is a PRS with a dual action truss rod in here. It doesn't need a washer, you knew that. Prizes all round everybody who noticed that I'm being a fool. I'm gonna go get a coffee and yeah, carry on, and Josh is just laughing at me in the background there. "25-inch scale length." That's actually a very responsive truss rod. I'm impressed. PRS. Perfectly flat. Okay. Fret rocker. Now, my opinions on frets and fretwork are changing the more guitars I play. I'm relieved, genuinely relieved. This seems fine. Okay, there is no rocking. These frets are level. I've heard differing stories about what PRS do. I've heard that they are so confident in the accuracy of the pressure with which they install the frets that they don't need to level and crown them, etc. Which isn't necessarily the case. They don't necessarily need to crown them, but they do need to do a little bit of leveling. There's an on the factory floor video where you can hear them say, okay, this leveling thing that they use, it's an acrylic block, is designed by Paul Smith to be absolutely flat and dimensionally stable, etc. forever. And then 3 seconds later, literally, he says, yeah, we take it back to the machine shop to flatten it once a week. Not understanding the irony of that statement. The reality is they do at least take the tops of the frets down, and this has been perfectly done. I'm surprised that they haven't sorted the nut out with the same level of care and attention. I can do that quickly now. And this is definitely a graphite-based nut. There's graphite in here. It's not a proprietary anything. It's just, you know, there might be a little bit of Teflon mixed up in there or something. Suppose I can put these washers back now, can't I? All right, let's get these strings back on. So I want to get the neck at the right relief and get everything set up before I start playing around with the nut.
Well, there we go. I don't need to do any adjustment whatsoever. Holding it down at either end, my radius on what was a perfectly flat fretboard is my radius. My relief is exactly what I would like. Just a light touch. The only issue is that the height of the nut is so high that my intonation, even if I set the intonation perfectly at the 12th, my intonation is going to be off. Well, because you're pushing it down there, it's knocking everything back just a little bit. So if you hold the string down at the 3rd fret, you should have just a fraction. So it should move, but only that much, not even. Oh, just tiny, 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 tiny. I've got too much going on here. That being said, now that I've adjusted the truss rod, it's not as bad, not anywhere near as bad as it was when it came in. So yeah, maybe I'm being too hard on PRS. Let me know. Gently does it. That'll do it. I could go lower, but I don't want to. This is the equation that we all have to deal with. This guitar could end up being won by somebody who likes a particularly high action and plays with 12s instead of the 10s that come as standard on this. That's a tunes. Crimson 10. Use it. If I did not have hearing protection, and entertainment to this quality, I would go absolutely batshit insane. The real trick is to make it feel roughly the same all the way up. Obviously getting slightly higher as you go towards the bass strings, but I want it to feel even across the board. It's so important that the musician, they shouldn't know that we've even been here. It should be absolutely effortless to play a guitar. Unless you're Joe Bonamassa, who kind of sometimes likes them to fight back. I'm remembering him saying that in an interview now, so questioning my entire existence. Damn it! Okay, so the action of the 12th is still quite high. It's sitting at just over 2 millimeters. I'm going to lower everything down just a fraction. I'm going to leave the trem where it is, though, and use a tiny Allen key. And I'm just taking everything down the same amount of turns. To keep the radius. All right, 1.5 mil action, and a little bit lower at the high E. Everything's good, except me. Haha! So the intonation was actually okay. The nut was high, but I suppose okay. My big issue genuinely was that the SE Silver Sky came out of the box feeling so much better than this did. And you know, first impressions count for a hell of a lot. I genuinely was expecting to be tempted to try and figure out a way to keep this guitar.
And after about 2 minutes of playing it, I just wasn't. If you look back, let's cut in some footage from the nut of that SE if possible. As I'm taking these strings off, I'm noticing for the first time this nut. A pet hate for me is these corners of the nut where the soft part of your hand gets eaten away by sharp corners and sharp edges. And this has been rounded over to absolute perfection. It is incredibly comfortable. You see how the strings were perfectly partially seated inside the nut. You don't want the strings to be embedded halfway into the nut like you have on this guitar. Your string is supposed to sit about 1/3 to 2/3 of the way into the nut, whereas every single one of these is way down, deep inside, and that's how you get sticking nuts, etc., or sticking strings inside of the nut. It's not ideal. It is US made. That comes with a premium. It does cost a lot more to make a guitar in the States and in the UK. I just wish they'd put a little bit more effort into the final fit and, for that matter, finish. Spraying white paint is a luthier's idea of hell. In fact, Dante's Inferno for luthiers will be a spray booth with white paint and no filters on the door. Anyway, Josh is going to play you out. I hope you enjoy this guitar. Don't forget, it could be yours, greatguitargiveaway.com. And the whole thing is to support the building of an epic guitar museum that is also going to be available online. And the only museum where they let you play the exhibits. Click like, subscribe. See you soon. Goodbye.